So one thing I've learned over the years is to offer a variety of price points for different audiences, and to know your audience. And so that's why, in addition to offering G-clay reproductions, I also have created different small treasures. I call them pendants, key rings, ornaments, magnets, greeting cards, even occasional t-shirts as fundraisers for special causes. And on the bottom row you can see some examples of some of my art licenses for various products. So painting is my connection to the mystery. When I step up to the canvas, I'm often aware of a profound creative energy over which I have little control, but through which I'm continually humbled and amazed as I learn to let go and trust the process. So it often feels like I'm receiving an image rather than creating it or controlling it. So I like to think of myself as like an art midwife. So I work mostly in acrylics, either on stretched canvas or on board, medium density fiberboard, and I work layer upon layer, allowing the image to shift and just develop organically as it emerges. And I often work on several pieces or an entire room at once, often for many months at a time. And in addition to my studio work, I offer workshops across the country using painting as a tool for self-discovery and for mindfulness. I've used art for healing in my own life for more than 20 years, and so now it's my joy to offer painting, to encourage others really to tap their own inner creative wellspring, whether or not they identify as artists. So in these workshops we use very basic materials, tempera paints, paper and brushes, and present moment awareness to tap whatever's inside. And so far, most of the clients that have hired me business-wise have been in Unity centers across the country. But I've also led some workshops for retreat centers, schools, a hospital, and various community groups. And I sell my work through my e-commerce website, which I recently redesigned or developed, as well as my studio at the Bauer Building for First Fridays, and also at other various retail spaces and galleries, mostly local. People buy my work because it makes them feel good. It brings them a sense of peace. One person said it helps them breathe easier, or it reminds them of their connection to nature. Often people who collect my work end up with more than one piece. And usually people who are drawn to my work have some connection to either a yoga practice, meditation, or some spiritual practice. So my goals are to license my work through a major publisher or distributor, and ideally not just for a single product, but an entire product line or brand. To publish my book, which is now in development. It weaves together my own personal story and art with practical tips and tools for using art for self-discovery. To expand my workshop clientele across the country to include hospitals and universities, which I'm starting to dip my toes into, but to really pursue that as a clientele. And to establish large-scale commission jobs through healing centers and other businesses. And these last two could potentially tie in together. My challenges: penetrating new markets, new art markets, specifically the East and West Coast, the Southwest. I feel that these are where some of my target markets reside. Growing my list of professional contacts to pursue, and then following up. I've started creating a database for several of these different areas, but again, these things take time to build up and then to make that connection, and then to keep following up and following up. Time and resource management was So my needs that tie in with that are more research, time and staffing help, which I have some help at my studio, but really moving into that model more, and also funding. So I thank you so much for having me here today, and I really look forward to your questions and ideas to help my art have a greater impact in the world, a greater reach. So thank you very much.
Great, and now we're ready for the meat of the event, and we already have our first question from Paul.
It's a great presentation, Jenny. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Very clear, and I really applaud how specific your goals are. I just have to say, I've watched your work now for maybe 10 years, and I'm so impressed with it running as a creative artist. And I can always tell when to work by you, but it's just more vibrant, more sophisticated, more detailed, and just so much richer over the last several years, and it's really, really impressive. One specific advice about research, I recently met Kelly Porter. I don't know if you know Kelly or not.
Kelly, what was the last name?
Porter. P-O-R-T-E-R. And I was very impressed to learn about what she's done with her business. Porter Tile. And they just bought a building in the East Crossroads. And now we're back to the Crossroads after being away for the last decade. And she has some great experience in contacts in the licensing arena. So I would suggest you seek out Kelly and see if you can get some FaceTime with her and just see if she's willing to help share some of what she's learned about the licensing market and how that works.
That's a really great idea. Kelly is one of my favorite artists, actually, and I have samples of, I've kept samples of her work in my studio up for most of my career, so it's very appropriate. Yeah, thank you. I will, look into that.
You had mentioned that you wanted to find more outlets for the workshops, and also with getting more places out in the hospitals and things like that. What is your current process for outreach for those kinds of engagements?
Great question. So mostly it's been, I've reached out to connections that I've already had, even if it's somebody I met at a party once who, is a doctor, or a lot of the connections, like I said, are through the Unity Centers, because I worked as a graphic designer for many years at Unity Village, so I have a lot of connections through that community, but I also have put together a PDF packet, like a 5 or 6 page packet that I've been sending out, again, mostly starting with people I know, but my goal is, and I've started building that list, is to start just cold sending it out to places that I think might be a good fit. So kind of still working on that. I have the packet, I send it out, but really I want to beef it up by expanding to other people and places. There's so many places, and that's where I get a little overwhelmed and I started building kind of by region, like if I know I'm going to be traveling somewhere, then what are all the places I can reach out to in that region, and kind of managing it that way. So, follow-up question? Yeah.
Do you have like kind of a list of where you're already at in that packet?
Like places I've already worked with? Yeah, I try to. So this is one thing I've learned also, is that I'll forget if I reached out to somebody. And so I try to keep notes under each listing of contacted on this date, they responded on this date, they're a yes, they're a maybe, they're a no, or I led a workshop here on this date. So yeah, I'm trying to get better with those organizational skills. Yeah, definitely.
Can you flip to your second or third to the last slide?
wanting to not have to do graphic design as sometimes an extra, supplemental income and all that. And I used to do a lot of graphic design, and I actually kept a couple of clients, and a couple of times a year I do a graphic design job. And it's funny because it actually kind of brings me out of my other stuff and kind of keeps me current with some of those skills, and I always kind of learn something new from it. But most importantly, I have made some really good connections through some of that work. And so, even though it kind of seems like something you might, and I don't know, maybe you just truly do want to be done with it, but it's kind of a useful thing to have up your sleeve, and I just have found that I have a lot of people who introduce me to other people through even just a couple of times a year when I do that work. So it's something you might think about, kind of utilizing it a little differently if you do still do that.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. And yeah, actually, I just have a few clients right now that I kind of keep, as ongoing, and they are good friends of mine who, there's definitely been crossover into other areas. Either they bought my work, or they, are a leader in the community and have had me lead a workshop. So yeah, definitely, I agree in that, like, crossover, cross-pollinization of different areas. And it's a great skill to have. Like, I tell other young artists, like, because you can use it all for your own self-promotion. Exactly. So yeah, knowing some web design skills, knowing, print design, it's very, very important skills to have. Yeah, so thank you, it's a good point.
I have a question over here.
I have some contacts at universities. If I would contact them for you, what would I tell them that your workshops were like? I mean, what are the workshops? Can you talk about them a little bit?
Yes, thank you. So I liken them to art therapy without being art therapy. So the workshops are therapeutic, and healing in a way of whatever somebody needs from it. So I'm not an art therapist. I'm somebody who's used art for healing in my own life, and I like to help others. So there's no art experience necessary. I provide all the materials and create a safe, supportive space for people to show up exactly as they are, even if they're falling apart at the moment. And I provide one-on-one guidance as we start creating. So we create in silence. Everybody's working on their own piece, but I come around and am kind of a support and creative cheerleader, if you will, to support each person where they are. So it's a very, I keep saying this word, but it's a very supportive group, and it's very individualistic, yet in a safe, held space. So it's very different from like the art classes where you'll go like the paint and sip, where everybody's working on the same piece. Quite the opposite from that. It's from the inside out. And I'd love to send, if you're interested, I can send the PDF that I send out to places. Maybe we can talk afterwards. Thank you.
Two, do you like, there's trade shows where you can do for licensings, as well as, do you attend any hand-thought meditation fairs or such, just to make connections?
I've done one in the past, and that's something that I feel like, I need to look into moving forward. Well, actually, I've done more than one, but that would be a good connection to have.
And sometimes just attending those rather than participating, just to make connections too, so you're on the other side and you can be more mobile.
That's a good idea. Both for the meditation aspect and also the trade shows for art licensing too. Like I've heard some of those are very expensive, but I'd really like to get to some of those too.
Yeah, but I think too, through meditative fairs, you can find some information on art licensing and distribution.
That's a good idea,
Next question?
Over here.
So for publishing your book, what are your goals for that? Do you want to, try to find a publisher, or try to self-publish, or something in the middle? What are your thoughts on that?
My goal is to find a publisher, and I've started a list of places to pursue for that too. And my ultimate dream is that there be some kind of crossover, like that it would be a publisher that also has other products that, again, there could be some licensed art products that maybe supplement the book. So as a last resort, I would probably turn to self-publishing, but I'd like to try first to, not the self-publishing as a last resort, but I would want that support system behind me that would be able to help promote it and the experience that they have with that. So that would be my goal.
Were you thinking more of an art-centered, like kind of publishing house, or more of a larger scale that could have different support mechanisms in it?
Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of like a self-help or spiritual, something like a Sounds True or a Hay House or something like that. But again, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of competition for that. So I haven't really looked into the art publisher aspect yet. Like as far as like, do you mean like places more of a coffee book style for artists and like a retrospective? Yeah, I haven't looked into that yet. So that's a good point that there's also that route.
So are you kind of angling your book to look like, are you using like the Artist Way as a model, except you're introducing more art to the book itself?
Yes, sort of as a model, yes. There'd be more visuals with it. So I want it to be just visually stunning, inspirational, you know, sharing my own path and healing story, but also I kind of have broken it into 8 chapters of kind of a path to take. That it's kind of like what I would take through a workshop, or actually a series, but yeah, lots of practical tools and exercises and stuff.
It sounds like you're following a good success model. So, good job.
Jenny, have you looked into getting an agent, a literary agent?
I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Oh, I have a friend who he's now about to have his 7th book published. And he found a place on the internet where you can put up your proposal for a book and essentially have prospective agents look it over, and then any person will actually approach you. And after thinking about this book for about a decade, he finally did the research and figured out what it took to put one of these sort of prospective ideas out there. And within about a week after he did that, he had 3 or 4 agents who contacted him. And in about 2 weeks after choosing one, he actually had a contract with a major publisher in New York. So, yeah, there are ways to do this that are maybe a little bit, if you have the ideas and the right approach and the contacts are already in your mind, and it only involves submitting like one simple chapter and outline.
Okay.
So you should look into that and see if there's a path there that might be a little bit less formal. We try to contact a publisher as a previously unpublished writer. It's very, very, very difficult. I mean, it's hard to even look at it, but if you can find an agent who has those contacts, it can really make the process go a lot smoother.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll talk to you more later about that. Thank you, Paul.
I have actually attended Jenny's workshop. It was several years ago, at least, at Unity Village. And it was a really beautiful experience because when we entered the tower, which was surrounded by windows, she had all of the, everything set up for us to paint. And it was a nice flow because I really wasn't worried about what the person next to me was doing. And she had all the materials and paints. And it was fun. I mean, I remember you coming up and saying something as I was creating. I still have that piece that I created at Unity. Yes. And I do have, I think, one of your necklaces and some other, but you have to go to the Bower, you have to see her artwork in person, because the colors are beautiful and vibrant, and her artwork is full of energy. So if you can, on our first Friday, stop by. What's the location? Is it on 16th?
It's on 18th Street.
18th Street.
115 West 18th. It's between
Yes.
Baltimore and Wyandotte.
Okay.
Thank you. Julie's a great promoter.
Oh, well, and I support people, I believe, whether I'm buying jewelry or art or whatever. One idea that just came to me, and you may have already done this, I don't know, or thought about it, but like with Unity, with the 12 powers, I want to see you creating artwork for each of those, and maybe that could be created into a book, but you could create it for other spiritual centers if they have some, like the 12 powers or some, 10 themes in their spirituality, and where it could be created into a book or materials, and each piece could represent that. So I don't know if you've ever done that, but I see that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a great, I just see it in books and all kinds of materials. That would take you a while, 12 powers with the Unity principles, but you could apply that to any other spiritual center or religion or church. So, I don't know.
Well, thank you. I love that. And I have to say that this lady had her first art show recently, so
Yes.
you're still painting now, and yeah, you're going crazy with it. I love it. Yeah, very inspiring.
Can we go to the slide?
Yes.
Yes. Hi. Have you thought about approaching Hallmark or any of their divisions? Because I was just down at their visitor center taking a tour of a new exhibit at the Gold Brainstorming. It just seems like they've got books and arts, and it seems like, even possibly using their already greeting cards, it just seems like they offer such a portfolio of items being here in Kansas City that they may take some interest in that.
That's a great idea. I have them on my list. I haven't reached out yet. I actually did a Creative on Call internship, or not an internship, it was a job with them back when I was in art school. So yeah, it makes total sense with them here in Kansas City, and I know they've licensed other artists as an entire brand. So that's a great idea. It'll be one of my first to contact.
Not about yourself, I would.
Thank you.
And we have time for one more question. Right here.
I also just wanted to say that there are also a lot of artist reps for licensing designs as well. So you might look into that, and certainly, I know you were talking about some of the markets, but there's Surtex in New York City, that's the big one. Also, if you can go to any of the kind of regional gift and home decor markets, if you can kind of piggyback on somebody to get into one of those, so you can really walk around and find companies that you feel like you have an aesthetic that feels right there. To really, so much of it is about finding the company that you love, that you want your work to be there. And then there's this kind of symbiotic relationship of placing your work there and creating products. So just something to keep in mind as you do your research into where you'd like to create product lines.
Thank you very much.
Just in increasing your income, do you charge different prices for your classes, or do you do a master class?
I charge prices, I have pricing for the classes. I'm getting ready to increase what I charge to businesses, because when I am hired by a business, I charge a flat fee, and then they charge what they want or offer it for free to their clientele. So currently, a lot of that I do is out of town, and so I don't always recover my travel costs when I do that, or I break even. So I'm looking into kind of raising that, or looking at, how to travel more effectively, like what I need to charge for that. And same with my art, really. My prints and reproductions are at a certain price, but originals I could be charging more for that. So kind of looking at all of that.
Great. I in the community?
Keep buying art. No, yeah, as Julie said, I'll be open for First Friday next week, but I'm always looking for helpers and assistants for, I mean, I have a kind of a group of helpers that I hire from right now, but looking to outsource other things, like some of the products I create, I hire somebody now to do that. So, yeah, if anybody's looking for that kind of work or supplement, you know, it's not a regular full-time thing, but I'm always looking for help in that way, so.
Thank you, Jean, so much.